Hello everyone, welcome back to another sewing tutorial on this channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you're stopping for the first time, you're welcome. This is Jowins Fashion Ville. We do sewing tutorial, pattern drafting, and everything in between sewing. So guys, this is a sew request from one of us. If this is what you're interested in watching, learn to the end, subscribe, share the video guys. Let's get right into the tutorial. Okay guys, for the pattern drafting, I'll be dropping the link in the description box. You can go ahead and check it out if you're interested. So I'll just move straight into the sewing aspect of this tutorial. Okay guys, so I used the pattern we drafted in the previous tutorial to cut on the fabric, on the main fabric, on the lining. I also went ahead to use the cup pattern to cut on the wadding and also cut on the main fabric and the lining. Okay, so after cutting on it, I'll just briefly explain what I did here. For this other part of the panel, I cut on the main fabric and lining. On the yoke, I cut on the main fabric and the lining as well, as you can see. And then on the back panel, the back pattern, I cut on the main fabric and lining. So I'll go ahead and fuse my interfacing on my main fabrics. Okay, so this is the corset cup. I've fused my stay on it and I've secured it with my pin. I'll take it to my sewing machine and then I'll stitch it. So guys, this is actually my first time of actually doing the real sewing on my channel. Most of the times I do my sewing off camera, but let's see how this goes and let's see if we'll appreciate this better, so at least I can continue. So after stitching it, I went ahead to notch it and then I'll give it a good press. So this is the lining as well. I just finished stitching the main fabric and I'm stitching the lining. The next thing I'll simply do, guys, is to go ahead and notch it and then give it a good press, okay, to relax the seam. I'll encourage you guys or urge you guys to always relax your seam. It helps, gives it a good finishing, which is pleasing to you and to your client as well, okay. So what I'll simply do next is to join the other cup, which is the main fabric or the fashion fabric, whatever you call it conveniently. I'll secure my pins, as you can see, and I'll take it to my machine and then I'll stitch it. I'm actually doing this sewing tutorial for beginners who have less exposure to sewing. At least they'll learn one or two from this tutorial. So I'll also give that a good press and then I'll move over to the front panel. For the front panel, guys, as you can see, I fused it with an stay. The front panel, this fabric particularly, I meant to say, is a bit stable. So I didn't use a paper stay because it will give it some kind of roughness, okay? So I fused it with an stay just to increase the stability a bit. Then I'll go ahead and join the other parts of the panel, okay, to the center front. Remember, it's an asymmetric hem. So we have two parts joining the center front, okay. So then I'll give it a good press. So this is the cup or the wadding, okay. For this particular wadding that I joined off camera is a double layer. I'll be fusing on my main fabric. Then this other one I'm about to fuse, I'm about to join, is a single layer. I didn't fuse any other one to it. I'll be joining this for us to see how I joined the double layer. For the double layer, I'll be fusing that on the main fabric, and the single layer, I'll be fusing this on my lining. Okay, I hope you understand. So guys, I'll be using a zigzag stitch for this wadding. I'll go ahead and run a zigzag stitch on it, and then I'll use a straight stitch to seal it up. Okay, I'll use a straight stitch to secure it. If you note, I didn't backstitch on this wadding, guys. I used a zigzag stitch and a straight stitch to secure. Okay guys, so I'll go ahead and run my straight stitch and also join the second panel. There are a lot of things that people use. Using a wadding is not a standard. There are varieties of things you can use for your corset cup. You can use bust caging technique. You can use your main bra cup, fuse your bra cup to it, or you can use your wadding. So the choice depends on you. Or every process that you employ or any method that you use is fine, but just do it well. Okay, so for this tutorial I am using a wadding. I could use in my other next tutorial, I could choose to do bust caging, I could choose to use brack up. They say variety is the spice of life. It's just getting to have different options. Okay, so the next thing I'll do is to turn my neckline for the yoke. I'll be using the lining to turn the main fabric. Okay, so I'll go ahead and place it this way. Ensure that you lap it properly and then secure it with your pins. Use your pins to hold it. I usually like to work with my pins. Most of the times when you don't work with your pins, you try to notice some irregularities. No matter how good or matter how an oldie, even if you're an oldie, you tend to make mistakes. So most of the times it's encouraging that you work with your pins if you are a beginner. Okay, so I'll go ahead and close up the neckline, turn it up with my lining. After stitching, I'll go ahead and notch it. Ensure you notch. After notching, and then I'll flip it and then stitch in between. Okay, stitch in between, relax the seam, open it up and relax my seam. This is your neckline. If you don't relax your seam, you see the lining popping out. Okay, so I will just open it up and stitch in between the seam line to flip your seam allowance to one side and stitch in between the seam line and then give it a good press. Okay, so at this point I'm done stitching. So I'll just flip it up. I'll just flip it to the right side. I actually secured it with my pin because I've not given it a good press so that you can see what it looks like. So I'll take it to my ironing table and use my steam iron to properly relax it. Okay, so it's not that difficult. So what I'll simply do is to fuse my wadding to the corset cup. You can see I'm using a hemming gum to secure it to the fabric. The hemming gum just helps to glue it up. Okay, but that doesn't necessarily mean that after gluing it up you should just leave it that way. Okay, you go ahead and tack it, stack it in between the seam. You get. So right here I'll be showing you guys how I secured the wadding to the glue cup. So after using my hemming gum and placing the fabric on it, I'll use my steam iron. You can see I'm using my steam iron to secure the fabric to the wadding. Okay, so I'll do this for my main fabric. Remember that I said that the double layer wadding will be for the main fabric and the single one for the lining. So I'll do the same for the lining as well with the single. So what I'll simply do here is to attach my corset cup, the main fabric of the cup, to the main fabric of the front panel. Okay, so I'll secure my pin. At this point, just ensure that your seam line of your corset cup is actually matching with the seam line of your front bodice. Okay, so I noticed that this one wasn't matching. You can see it's more like a guide for you to know that your cup is properly placed. So I'll take it to my sewing machine and stitch it round. Okay, secure the cup with the seam allowance. Okay, so this is the back panel. I've used the lining to turn it up and place my darts, and then this is the lining. This is the lining. Yes, this is the lining of the front panel. I've attached my yoke to it. Okay, so what I'll simply do here is to place my lace on the front bodice. This is the front bodice, guys, where I inserted the cup. This is the front bodice. So I'll place it and then I'll use my tailor's ham to kind of guide me to properly place my lace on the cup, around the cup area. I don't have a pinnable mannequin, so I have to make do with what I have. So I'll ensure that I secure it and it's laying properly. Okay, if you're working with what they call it, a lace fabric, you have to be very careful and ensure that it lays properly. So I'll use my needle and thread and stitch it up. I'm using a regular black thread to stitch. Ensure that your thread is not showing, guys. Your thread can show at the back, but it's meant to look invincible in front. Okay, I have a tutorial on lace placement. I'll leave the link as well. If you're interested, you can check it out. So I'll keep stitching and stitching until I secure this fabric on my front panel. Okay, I'll stitch it, and along the side, after stitching, I can take that to my sewing machine and stitch the side, but around the cup I have to stitch it properly. Okay, then this is the lining that I attached to my yoke. I first of all placed my yoke to my lining. I've secured it, guys. I've secured the yoke to my lining. You can secure to your main fabric. There's no standard to this. You can secure to your main fabric, or you can secure to your lining attached. And I attached the yoke by 0.25, so I don't eat into my seam allowance when joining my main fabric. Okay, so this is the back panel. I've closed up the seam with a temporary stitch, and I've turned the main fabric with my yoke, with my lining. Okay, you can see what it looks like. I've turned the main fabric with my lining. So this is the front panel and this is the back. You can see I've turned it up, and I turned it through the armhole. And if you notice, guys, there's a twist in this my front panel. Initially I wanted to use the laced part in front, but I had a change of mind and I used the shiny parts in front. It's my choice. You can choose to do the reverse, guys, but at the end of it I chose to use this parts, okay, which I felt would be pleasing to me. But at the initial time I wanted to use the laced parts for the front. So what I'll simply do here is to join my shoulder. Please take note that I place it right side facing each other. I've removed my lining for the back panel. I'll be using the lining of the back panel to turn it. I secure the pin, and then I'll be using the lining. I'll flip it round, guys. I'll flip it round like this, and then I'll join it. Use my pin to hold it again. I'll take it to my sewing machine and I'll stitch it by 1/2 inch. Guys, I hope you learn. I hope this was easy to understand. I'll do the same for the other side. Right side facing each other. I'll remove my lining. I'll secure my pin like so. Then I'll flip the lining towards the other side, towards the main fabric, towards the front panel, and then I'll hold it with my pin again like so, and then I'll take it to my sewing machine and then I'll stitch it by 1/2 inch. By doing this you get a perfect inseam finishing on the shoulder. Okay, you don't get to see any seam. The seam there becomes inside. Okay, so I'm going to flip it open for us to see the shoulder. Okay, I've attached my zip here. I've attached my zip. Initially I used a temporary stitch or a basting stitch to secure it. I gave it a good press and then I inserted the zip. Don't mind that I'm using a brown zip, please. You can use a black zip. This is actually me wearing it. So the next thing I'll do, guys, is to attach my sleeve. I have a tutorial on this godet sleeve, or godet. Is it godet or godet? Godet sleeve. It was the last tutorial I did before this, so you can go ahead and check it. The tutorial is very detailed, guys, on how to make a godet sleeve. I wanted this tutorial to be brief, so I'll go ahead and attach my sleeve on the armhole. This is the armhole. I usually attach my sleeve before closing up my bodice. Most times I can decide to close up my bodice and attach my sleeve, so it depends on what works for you or what seems right. So my seam allowance, the seam allowance for the sleeve is 1 inch. I'll use flow it down into the body. Okay, so before you closing up the body, what you need to do is to take your bust measurements, half your bust measurements, you place it, half your under bust, half your waist, and half your hip, and then you go ahead and run your stitch from your sleeve into your bodice. Okay, after taking your measurements. So guys, this is what the tutorial, this is our end product of detailed tutorial, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys learned something. Thank you, guys. If there's something that's not clear to you, let me know. I also embellished it with what you're seeing here. I embellished the hem. I used an invisible thread. I didn't use a glue.